I've taught a few people how to wholesale. You know, I've taught a few people that already were wholesaling how to be more business oriented and structure. Now, somebody like me that I did $1 million last year, and now I want to learn from people like you. I want to learn from people like one of my business coaches, Brandon Dawson. Learn from Sean Terry, who's one of my real estate coaches. I want to learn from people that are doing 10, 15, 25, $50 million a year. Start at your level, right? And then level up.
Me understanding what social media really was from a creator point of view. I was not a consumer. I never liked social media. I don't care about taking pictures of myself, but I understood the power of social media from a creator standpoint and how much I loved real estate, how important it was. I felt it was my obligation to share it with the world. Once I cracked the code and I made my first million, I was the first millionaire in my family. I became a millionaire at 28. I retired my parents by 30. I've been doubling my income almost every year forever.
People that are just starting out, don't go buy a big gold chain or a brand new Mercedes, right? Stack your money, buy some rental properties, or figure it out. Learn from people like us and figure it out on where to park your money. From East LA to the hills of Rancho Cucamonga, I'm gonna show you how I went from being broke to being rich. Hey guys, Mike Martinez here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I am with the legend, one of my personal inspirations, Cody Sperber. Just had a birthday yesterday. Happy birthday, my man.
Thank you.
Thank you for giving me the time. I know you're a busy person, and I'm honored. Like I said, you've been one of my biggest inspirations to get into real estate and to become a serious, hardcore entrepreneur. So thank you. Thanks for having me in your studio. We're in the Clever Investor studio.
Yeah. I'm glad you're here, man. I'm really proud of you, dude. Since I've known you, you've come a long way. You're already killing it, but like you really making some power moves, dude. It's been really cool to watch.
Thank you. That means a lot coming from you. I know we have a lot of mutual friends, and you're one of those people. I always say on my social media, on my YouTube, I always say, look up to the right people. Don't take advice from anybody that's below you, success-wise. Mental health, fitness, family, everything, all around. You got it going. So you're somebody that I would actually listen to. Yeah. I would actually take your advice, right? Yeah. I can't say that about a lot of people in my social circle nowadays, unfortunately. But again, man, I appreciate you. I want to get started by asking you, can you tell me a little bit about where you grew up? Did you play sports? How was your upbringing? A lot of people want to know, when you're massively successful like you are, did you come from a family of money?
Oh man, I wish. So I grew up in Mesa, Arizona. That was like the main place we were growing up. And Arizona, I was in the richest part of the poor neighborhood. So I was on the better, I was like 3 streets away from where it started to get rough. And Arizona has a lot of Hispanic community, Latino community. And so I was one of like 3 or 4 white guys that lived in my neighborhood. Yeah. And so all my friends they spoke Spanish, they were Mexican, they ran in little, wannabe packs and gangs and stuff. So that's who I was around. And I didn't know we didn't have money. My parents were very quiet about money. If we ever talked about money in the household, I would ask for something and they'd immediately push back and be like, no, we're not made of money. We don't have that. But my dad was really good at like framing it like, how can we create it? Like if you want a bike, how can we create it? And he made one of the best moves for me as a young kid. I wanted a scooter, and he said, how can we create it? And I said, I don't know. I'm a little kid. I was like 10 years old or whatever. And he said, well, what's something a service or a product or something that you can sell and create? And I said, I don't know, maybe I'll sell candy at school. He goes, great, I'll give you a $40 loan. And he literally got out a piece of paper and wrote out a fake note with me, and I had to sign it, and he gave me a $40 loan. We drove to Costco, bought a bunch of candy, and I went to school the next day and I slanged candy. Little did he know that was going to, I was going to light up. Yeah. I made like $600 selling candy. I paid my dad back his $40 loan plus interest. Then I started buying candy with my own money, and that I was able to save up $600-700, and I bought my scooter. That turned into, because I didn't have a lot of oversight from my parents because they both worked, to me selling drugs. I started doing weed, selling weed in the 7th grade, but I always had a little bit of that hustler spirit in me. I used to skateboard around. I had a backpack on. I had 6 or 7 different types of drugs in the backpack, and I would sell them. And what would end up happening, and I never got caught, and I was very small time, right? Neighborhood, friends, and family. But I got sick and tired of skateboarding around to people. So one of the person I sold weed to when I turned 16 was a guy who worked at Burger King. He was the manager of the local Burger King. So I convinced him to give me a job in the drive-thru so I can sell weed out of the drive-thru window and people would drive through versus me skateboarding to them. Right? Like this is who I was, you know, and every 2 years my dad would get fired and I would move around a lot. And so we always lived in little tiny, like, you know, 1,100, 1,200 square foot houses with a carport. We shared one car and I never knew we didn't have money. Yeah. It wasn't like that for me. But I was an annoying little kid.
So you didn't play sports.
I played a little bit of sports, but in 9th grade I stopped.
Okay.
And I played, like, you know, baseball and little Pop Warner football and stuff. But I was little, dude. I was a little guy.
You dabbled in sports. The picture I'm getting from you is like you're the cool white kid that skates around selling weed in the Mexican ghetto neighborhoods.
Exactly.
But I
didn't have a lot of friends.
You learned how to survive. You did?
I did not. Okay. I did not. I was an annoying little kid because I was always pushy and mentally fast, but emotionally immature. They call it gifted nowadays, but back then I was just a hyperactive, you know, annoying kid that was around all the time. But it was weird because by getting bullied so much, and I was bullied a lot because I was the outsider, you know, they needed me for the drugs and stuff. But as soon as they got what they wanted from me, like it's not like we were friends. So I had this very small group of friends. They were all very aggressive, like kind of like wannabe gang members. And so I was bullied a lot. That actually served me really well. I hated high school all the way through it, couldn't wait to get out. But it serves me well later on in life because I developed a certain set of skills early on that, you know, from the selling and the sales and the influence and the persuasion and the learning how to survive in tough environments and all of that, it serves you as an entrepreneur.
I was going to say that you learned how to survive. You learned how to deal with bullies. So now there's no way in hell Cody's going to get bullied. Like,
it's a driver.
And we all know the reputation that you have, right? Like, you're a no bullshit kind of guy. So I think that all served you well. It gave you the experience and the toughness as an adult after all your, you know, business experience to be like, okay, no one's fucking with me, right?
But and even more important than that, yes, that was a driver to have control. I needed control of my life. But my favorite entrepreneurs always have a dark past.
Yeah.
You know, the ones that were spoon-fed and the red carpet got rolled out and, you know, mommy and daddy gave them money and all that stuff. Like, they don't have that it factor deep in their core because they didn't need it. They didn't need to develop it. Whereas, like, me, you, like, we had to survive. We had to be creative.
Yeah.
I say this in real estate all the time, and this is true for all entrepreneurship. You're never going to have a money problem in business, and especially in real estate. But you will have a creativity problem.
Yes.
And if you can't creatively figure out how to solve the puzzle, you're not going to survive. It's just not going to happen. And that drive and ambition comes a lot of times from a painful past.
Yeah, I think that's what entrepreneurs do. So let's talk about, how did you get into real estate? What motivated you or inspired you to get into real estate besides the money? Everybody always says, well, the money, you know, I worked at a tire shop and everybody bringing in the Porsches were in real estate. Other than the money, what else did you find sexy about real estate?
It happened by accident. I wasn't looking to get into real estate. I wanted to be either a history professor or a teacher or a marine biologist. That was my childhood goals. When I got out of high school, and I hated school. I got C's and D's my whole childhood growing up. I never got good grades. And I finally got out of high school and I was like, forget school, I'm never going back. And I ended up joining the Navy. And it was when I was in the Navy that I actually grew up. And I toughened up, and a lot of good change happened. I traveled the world, like got perspective, all that stuff. Then after the Navy, because they were paying for my college MGI bill, and I wasn't clear on what I wanted to do, and I got really violently seasick when I was in the Navy, marine biology was out the window. As I was exiting the Navy, I went and talked to the history professors, asked them how do they love their jobs. They said, it's an okay job. I said, do you make good money? They started laughing and they said, no, we have to have a second job to pay our bills. I was like, well, maybe history teaching isn't going to be my future. And so I fell back on, well, maybe I'll go back to school. And I actually asked myself a question, like, now I grew up. Now I'm prideful I have confidence. The Navy like instilled a lot of great qualities into me. I was like, I wonder if I can get an A in college. And since the Navy was paying it, I went to college and I was on this mission to try and get my first A. I ended up getting straight A's in college. It just goes to show you it's an application problem. It's a desire problem. It wasn't that I was dumb or not capable of doing it. Yeah, I had to study way harder than a smart person. Yeah. But I was able to get straight A's, graduated top of my class, summa cum laude, in college at the W.P. Carey School of Business, something I never would have thought I could do as a kid. During that period, a friend of mine, his name was Jeremy, he flipped a house, he made $80,000, bought a new Mercedes. I was driving a piece of shit Nissan pickup truck, and I was like, how'd you get the car? And he said, I flipped a house, made 80 grand. And I'm like, you're full of shit. And he's like, no, it's this process wholesaling. This mortgage guy in town taught me it. And he penciled it out on a napkin. So that's how I got into real estate. A lunch with a dude in a new car and a fucking napkin where he penciled out wholesaling. And I was like staring at this napkin going, this is legal? This is possible? Like I can get into real estate with no money? Like this is wild.
What year was this? And how old were you?
It was 2003.
2003.
So I was probably 22, 23 years old.
Okay. So I need to address this because me being a wholesaler, flipper, real estate investor, just in the last 3 years, I've heard from pioneers like yourself, right? People that I look up to that kind of discovered the game and put it on a platform and showed the world what it is. Yeah. And now there's a gazillion wholesalers because of you guys. But let me ask you this. True. Do you think that it's a lot more difficult now to wholesale than it was back in 2003? Or do you think it's just as good? I mean, what's your opinion about that?
Yeah, it's just as good. It does go in market cycles. Like there is periods of time where it gets easier or a little bit harder. Like right now it's a little bit harder, but it's starting to get a little bit easier. But since last June, it's been pretty rough, right? Because the market pulled back and there's always a transition period when market cycles happen. Yeah. And we could talk about that. But like, look, the amount of information, data, resources, technology, artificial intelligence, partnerships with guys like you, and the spreads are much bigger now. Yeah. You were telling me offline right before we started this, you did a couple deals, you made 105,000 here, 103,000 here, 130,000 here. Those spreads were unheard of back then. Yeah. Like when he told me he made 80,000, he goes, dude, I got so lucky. I don't know how it happened. And ever since then, he never did another 80K. It was all like 5 and 10K. Yeah. I did a bunch of, my first one was 40K, but then every one after that was like 5 and 10K. Now we're banging 80K, 90K, 100K deals because of the advancement in the game.
Well, let me stroke our egos real quick for a second. Not everybody can do that though. Like our experience, me as an entrepreneur, you as a freaking killer in the game, like not everybody can do that. So I want everybody to understand that. Like there's a certain level of sophistication that we have, and I don't do 20 deals like that a month. It's like one a month, but it's possible if you practice and you learn the business and you get the skills. So people should know that. Sure. Yes, you and I are a little different. Especially you've been doing this for a long time and you're at a way higher level than most people in real estate, I would say. You're like a 1%er of people in the business.
Yeah. Well, I'm not a wholesaler. I'm not a rehabber. I'm not a developer. I'm not a landlord. I'm a real estate expert.
Correct.
And that's the goal. A lot of us start off coming in to learn how to wholesale because it's a great gateway to get in. You learn the language of real estate. You cut your teeth. You build your relationships. You get some money coming in the door. You'll quickly realize you're on the wrong side of the equation.
That's what happened with me.
Yeah, and it's the highest taxable type of transactional real estate is very highly taxable. And my first year in the business, it took me 14 months to do my first deal. Like I don't think people get just how fucking difficult it is. Yes. I didn't have a mentor for 9 of those months. I quit for a couple months and then I finally found somebody that can show me what to do. And I let my ego down and I asked for help and I listened properly for the first time.
Tell him, Cody.
I did all the things that now it's like the Cody back then was hard-headed and thought he could figure it out on his own and prideful and all these things. And so people don't realize the sacrifice that went into it. Would you, listening to this, if you have a goal to do your first wholesale deal, would you make it 14 months fighting for that win? with running out of money, your credit card bills are stacking up, your girlfriend's telling you you're making a mistake, your parents sit you down and tell you, hey, we don't think you should be doing this. Every voice in your head is now magnified times a million. It's loud. It's saying you're a loser. You don't deserve this. What happens if you get told no again? What happens if you lose money? What happens if you get stuck in a bad deal? What happens if you actually get a deal? Do you even know what to do next? Like all that just, and it fucks with you. But
most people won't last 14 months.
No.
And one thing that I've realized, and I think you can confirm this, is you got to learn how to humble yourself. You got to learn how to take a beating. You have to be tough mentally, emotionally. You got to be able to get dragged through the mud and like pick yourself up and be okay with it.
It's winners in this game have a bounce back spirit for sure. It is a core ingredient that's necessary. But more importantly, I could have fast tracked all of that. It didn't take that amount of suffering. I was just drinking from a fire hose in my own way. Yeah. What you realize as you become more successful is that like 85, 90% of it is personal development in your brain.
Yes.
It's like, oh, I have this lens on that's like hazy, and I didn't even know I had a lens on. The way I interacted with more successful people or people around me, the way I process things, the speed at which I moved, way too slow in the beginning.
Yeah.
People don't understand how fast you got to move. You want to win, you got to go fast. And how you're able to cut the learning curve down is just find a fucking mentor. Like literally shack up with somebody that's killing it. Like if I had the ability to get proximity to you, when I first started, it probably would take me 1 month, 2 months to get a deal. It wouldn't take me 14 months, but I was such an idiot that I was trying to do it on my own. Like what kind of strategy is that?
Yeah.
Hope is not a strategy, right? It doesn't work that way. You get with Michael, you're going to shortcut all of that. And get right at it. And even if I had to work for you for free or cut you a check to get proximity to you, it would be so much more worth it than the pain I went through trying to figure it out.
Yeah. I've taught a few people how to wholesale. You know, I've taught a few people that already were wholesaling how to be more business oriented and structure. And now somebody like me that, you know, I did $1 million last year in real estate. That was the first year that I cracked $1 million. Now I want to learn from people like you. I want to learn from people like, you know, one of my business coaches, Brandon Dawson. I want to learn from Sean Terry, who's one of my real estate coaches. I want to learn from people that are doing 10, 15, 25, $50 million a year, you know? So that's what people have to realize. Start at your level, right? And then level up. One thing I'm dying to ask you, I learned a lot about being a social media influencer from you without you probably even knowing, okay? I studied you. I've seen you speak at several events. I even got a couple contacts from you at an event, and I leveraged, you know, your contacts to help me with my social media. Can you tell us how did you blow up on social media? How did you become one of the first real estate influence celebrities on social media?
Yeah, I mean, I was the first one to crack 1 million followers. Right place, right time. I think, you know, timing is everything. Me understanding what social media really was from a creator point of view. I was not a consumer. I never liked social media. I don't care about taking pictures of myself. I still don't really want to create like a fake relationship through a screen. But I understood the power of social media from a creator standpoint and how much I loved real estate, how important it was. I felt it was my obligation to share it with the world. Once I cracked the code and I made my first million, I was the first millionaire in my family. I became a millionaire at 28. I retired my parents by 30. I made my first $10 million a few years after that. Like I've been doubling my income almost every year forever. And it's been really fun meeting all these amazing people in this space that I just felt obligated to share it with the world. And so creating the content came like, I was excited to do it. And I saw the path and the opportunity. The thing with social media is you got to pick a platform and you got to lean in on it. You got to be authentic. A lot of people try to, like, they see something I'm doing, or they see a Andy Frisella or a Grant Cardone or I just had Andy Elliott in here, who's a big sales trainer, and he's like very authentic, right? Wes Watson. These people, they're dynamic and they're authentic. They are who they are. They're not trying to be like the other person that they're watching. And that's the biggest downfall for anybody trying to create content, is they go, God, I want to emulate like Cody. That's the wrong way to approach it. I would rather have somebody be authentically new, talking about their new experiences and their struggles and fighting through and almost rooting them on to get the win, than them pretending to be already a badass. And a lot of young entrepreneurs are so worried about what they look like. Like, I'm the kind of guy that, like, yesterday I filmed an ad where it was a Ken and Barbie ad versus Oppenheimer. And literally my team put me in a dress. Like, I'm on social in a dress. And by the way, I look like I was pretty hot. So I'm not going to lie. I was pretty hot.
You were serious when you said you were in a dress yesterday.
Yeah. I got pictures to prove it. And they're on social because I just don't care. Like, real estate has given me real freedom. Social is a platform to share my joys of real estate investing with the world and my other businesses. And what I've discovered is that, yeah, there's going to be some people that will judge me right out of the gate. They don't know my story. They don't know who I am. They see me in a dress on social media and they're like, who the fuck's this guy? Like, yeah. But they don't realize how playful I am with all of it and how much money I make from ads and how much money I make from social media. They'd be in a fucking dress too if they realized I made $11 million last year posting on Instagram. Like, I don't give a fuck. Like, I do what I want when I want. And that's what happens is you repel everybody who doesn't like you and isn't in alignment with your messaging, and it just galvanizes everybody else. And I don't need a big audience. I can have 2,000 followers, but if I have a deep relationship with all 2,000 people, my business can thrive.
Yes.
Their lives can thrive from the synergy between that relationship.
Exactly. So
I would pick a platform, make video a core competency. You got to get good on video. You got to get out of your own way. Even if you stutter, even if you have a crooked smile like me or a receding hairline, it doesn't fucking matter. What matters is that you share your authentic voice with the world on video and you're consistent with it. Right now, if you're putting out 2 pieces of content a day, I want to challenge you to say, move it up to 10.
Wow.
And you'd be like, fuck, 10? And I'd say, yeah, dude, push for 10. 10 a day, 1 every hour until you fall asleep. Oh, fuck, I don't know if I could do that. Yeah, you can. There's people doing it all the time. You're just not making that a priority in your life. But what happens is, even if you post it and you get 5 views, 10 views, 50 views, it starts to stack on itself. It repels everybody that you don't want, galvanizes everybody else you do want. And it takes about a year before all of a sudden the momentum is starting to go. And there'll be a day, and I promise you, where 1 or 2 or a few of your things, I just had a reel hit. I'm on 8 million views already for the reel. Okay. Wow. In like a week, 8 million views. It's still going. I'm getting thousands and thousands of new followers because of it. You know, so you never know what piece of content's going to hit, but the whole machine just lifts up when it does.
Yeah. Yeah. It's happened with me too, especially on TikTok. There's a lot of negativity on the comments and people don't know my story. They don't know who I am. So I honestly, personally, I just stopped paying attention to TikTok myself. I don't even want to get on there and look at what's going on with my comments and stuff because it's so negative. I try to blind myself to it because, like you said, I'm taking your advice. I don't care. Like, I don't care. I'm not doing it for them. So I'm taking notes from you. I'm gonna roll it out. I'm gonna implement it. It's important. I like if you're able to share with your personal business structure or your real estate model with us. Can you tell us what you're currently doing right now in your real estate investment company?
Yeah. So first off, I'm able to play the game at the level I'm playing because I have great partners. I would never be here without my partners. I could not do it without them. I strategically built alliances and relationships with certain people because they complement my skill sets. And together it was 1 + 1 = 11, not 1 + 1 = 2. And so in my real estate business, we have a series of entities that do different things. And so we have Sell Quick for Cash, which is our wholesaling company, right? That's all we're focused on. We have about a 3,400 square foot office. We got about, anywhere floating between 7 to 12 reps working in there, half on acquisition, half on dispositions. We're not doing a ton of wholesale deals, probably like around 8 to 12 a month. We float in there.
Are those all single family or?
They're all over the place.
They're multifamily.
Yeah. Sometimes they're small multifamily, but not big. We opened up Clever Commercial last year and we're just starting to wholesale more commercial deals. That's a whole different company.
Okay.
So I got my wholesaling company in the residential space. I got a new Clever Commercial company that's focused on wholesaling, and commercial is a little different. It's not as fast. Yeah. It's really slow, much bigger paydays. I'm really focused right now on single tenant, triple net leases.
Okay.
And so like, like an old office building with one tenant or a commercial space with one tenant and that wants to leave. And we can put like a lot of people want to invest in those types of properties because they provide great returns. And with a triple net lease, you don't have to do much to it.
I've heard that and I've seen that. And that's why I was curious too, if you had your single family wholesaling operation separate, because it's a whole different animal, right?
It's separate. Okay. And then we got our development company that is currently building single family houses. At our peak, we had about 23 to 26 going at any one time. These are all $2.5 to $3.5 million spec houses. We were floating between $40 to $60 million in cash, pumping out. Like, people don't understand how difficult it is to develop at that level when you have 20 multi-million-dollar houses going all at once. With COVID, supply chain issues, there's a float that happens, and it's a very cash flow intensive operation. So we had to raise a lot of money. We put millions and millions of dollars of our own cash in it, and we started buying houses, tearing them down, and rebuilding beautiful new spec homes that we would pre-sell along the way. And we're down to our last like 6 or 7 right now. We stopped buying about a year ago when the market pulled back because we saw interest rates skyrocketing. We didn't feel comfortable speculating. Builders go bankrupt in bad markets. So we wanted to just finish all the projects that we had. We're down to our last 6 or 7. We actually had to, in order to survive the downturn, we actually had to take all of our profits, because if you think about it, I go and I say, hey, it's going to cost $800,000 to build this house. But if it costs $1.2 million, I actually got to cover the other $400,000 because the construction loan is not amendable.
Correct.
I get a construction loan, they're going to give me construction draws for $700,000 or $800,000, whatever that is. Any dollar I go above that, I got to come out of my own pocket and float it. We misjudged all 26 houses by like 300 grand. So imagine how many millions of dollars of our own cash we had to put into it just to compensate, because it was almost impossible to tell what a house was going to cost because of supply chain issues and COVID. It threw it into a frenzy.
It was up and down.
So, and we had to pre-order all the materials long before you ever need them because there was such a lag in the time that you order it to the time it showed up. Construction draws do not allow you to pull your draw until the item, the garage door, the doors, whatever, have been installed and inspected. So there's this float of $10 million that was happening at any one time at our level. It was killing me. So what we had to do is every time we closed out a project and made $300,000 or $500,000 in profit, we would not get paid it. We would roll it forward to cover the float until we got down to our last 7. So now, baby, I'm at a point where all 7 are fully paid for, ready to go, all profit. So we got like $5 million worth of profit that's going to hit in the next 60, 80 days that we've been working for over 16 months now on. That's finally going to pay off. So sometimes in real estate, things don't happen according to plan, and you got to be nimble, and you got to have other streams of income sometimes, which is where the wholesaling comes in. We wouldn't have survived if we were just builders. We wouldn't have been able to pay our bills. We would have just had to dump everything back just to keep that machine forward until we got to the big payday. But because of wholesaling, because of our commercial assets, because we own real estate, and by the way, I don't pay taxes. I'm like, I don't get why Trump just didn't roll out and be like, I don't pay taxes. It's the greatest thing ever. It is the greatest thing ever because the government misappropriates all of your money. It's better for me to take my money, keep it all, and then go, what am I passionate about? I'm passionate about helping animals. Let's go help animals. I'm passionate about going upstream and helping kids. Let's go help kids and making my money actually matter versus giving it to some dumbass politician.
That's right.
But with real estate, the only way you don't pay taxes isn't the transactional shit. You got to own it. And it's got to be the right type of real estate. It's very difficult to not pay taxes if you own single family. It's very easy to not pay taxes if you own commercial. So the challenge I want to give you, knowing you and where you're trying to go, is I want to push you into the bigger deals.
Well, thanks for inviting me into one of your big deals. And I strongly believe in proximity. If I want to be massively successful and I want to level up, I have to play with people in a bigger arena than I'm playing in. So thank you for that opportunity. I'm going to take you up on that. And we'll talk a little bit about that. And I'll blast it all over my social media so people know what I'm partnering with you on.
It's a big boy deal. $131 million purchase of a 432 unit apartment building.
Yeah.
This is the big time. This is the big leagues. This is where you need to drive towards. First, you're going to invest in a few of these, and then we're going to do one together. We're going to syndicate a big deal. One of these days, watch, I promise you, we'll do a big deal together where we're raising, 20, 30, 40, $50 million. It'll change everything.
Absolutely. I'm at your service. So however I can contribute to your organization and to your goals, dude, count me in. So I want to ask you, what do you think about the current real estate market in general right now? I have a lot of people that's watching that are wholesalers, that are real estate agents, either already experienced, doing deals or starting out. Right? I have a lot of people getting into wholesaling. What do you think our current real estate market is in general on a national level?
On a national level, I think it's depending on what you're comparing against, will determine how you look at it. If I'm comparing it to 2021 and 2020, beginning part of 2022, then it's not that great, because there was a few years where every hedge fund in the world was buying property and we were all printing money, and it was easy peasy because there was an insane amount of money flooding into the system. June of 2022, the the stock market crashed. People don't understand how hedge funds work. If a hedge fund raises, let's just call it $1 billion, they're not just going to sit on $1 billion in a bank account. They go and hand it to, the investment side of Morgan Stanley, and they go and put it into a portfolio of stocks and equities and whatever the fuck they buy. Then they give them a line of credit for a certain amount against their portfolio. Okay. They take that line of credit and then they go and buy real estate with it, and they're basically arbitraging interest rates all over the place. They're the smartest with the money. They know exactly how to play the money game. And then they go buy all this real estate and they lock themselves into these really low interest loans. And if people understand inflation, when inflation's really high, good, cheap debt over time gets eroded, because the dollars that you borrowed to buy the asset with are worth more than the dollars that you pay the asset back with, the loan back with. So over 10 years, if inflation's really high, when they go to pay that loan back every month, the dollar's worth less and less and less. So it's like getting a discount on the loan. And so good, cheap debt gets eroded with inflation. Hedge funds understand the money game. So they looked at it and they said, okay, we'll borrow against our stock over here. We'll take a 70% line of credit. We'll go buy all this cheap real estate, get 2-3% loans on it, and hold it forever, eliminate the middle class, turn our world into a renter nation, and control the vote. Like, it's a whole fucking game. But what happens when the stock market crashes and their line of credit dries up?
They're out of money.
But they all pull out, right? They go, hey, this machine doesn't work the same anymore. The model is broken. Let's pause and go to the sidelines. And that's what they did. And so it depends on how you're looking at it. For us, there was about a year period where wholesaling sucked. I'm not going to lie. It wasn't great. We had to retool some things. We had to get rid of some costs. We had to try some new things. But then we discovered something that has really been helping. And it's a game changer. And it's one of those things where, going back to being nimble, one of the other things hedge funds were doing that none of the rest of us were doing is they were using artificial intelligence to get to good deals first. They had access to data. And there's different types of data. There's big data, which is what we have used historically to do deals. We would go and look up every homeowner in a certain area, and we would data stack, right? We'd go, all right, which properties have high equity? Which ones are vacant? Which ones are in pre-foreclosure? Which ones have a tax lien on it? And we'd stack this data, skip trace them, call them, door knock, send them mail. And that's how we got deals, right? Ringless voicemail, all that shit. Hedge funds took big data and turned it into smart data. Smart data, you don't realize, there's tracking going on in all of your movements, right? Think about just your cell phone data. Think about the billions of data points that they have about where you travel to, what you subscribe to, what income level you are, whether or not your mother-in-law lives with you, who your friends are. And they built these data trees all around you, billions of data points. Imagine if we had a smart algorithm that can crawl through 136 billion data points and score you, right? You own a home and I score you. And I say, you know what, Michael's has, based on this AI algorithm, a very high probability and propensity of selling at a discount within the next 90 days. The person next to you has a very low probability and propensity of selling at a discount within 90 days. All of a sudden, I can highlight the people that have a very high wholesale score. And all of a sudden, I got clarity again. I stopped wasting time and energy talking to people that don't want to sell and will not sell at a discount. But based on the data, we're predicting that you, for whatever reason, based on these data points, the algorithm's saying, call Michael. And now we're able to data stack the same way we used to, but also add in an artificial intelligence lead scoring component, just like a credit score. The higher the score, the better the chances of something happening. All of a sudden, our cold calling started to work again. Our direct mail started to work again. We were able to upload that list and start pay-per-click, targeting people again. And all of a sudden, the lead quality got really good.
Better, yeah.
And we started getting deals again. And now we're working our way back up to, we'll probably within the next 6 months be consistently doing, 15 to 20 deals every single month, which is good for us because that's just one arm in a bigger operation.
Yeah, I mean, if you're averaging $30,000 spreads, I mean, you're good. I'm chasing $50,000 spreads right now in California. So if you can do that, and I'm looking to stay consistent between 5 and 10 deals.
Yeah.
But
by the way, if anybody we built the software.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that right now.
Yeah, we built the software. I mean, we got it. It's available.
Yeah, absolutely. What challenges have you had in your real estate company the last 12 years? The last 12 months.
Yeah, I mean, really, it was the buyers stopped buying. Interest rates shot through the roof because we're real estate, a full-fledged real estate company. We had challenges in every area of our business, from our Airbnb business slowing way down, to our some of our multifamily projects that we were speculating on. We bought an 81 unit over by ASU. A group of us went in and bought it. Our whole plan was to renovate 25% of the units, turn around and sell it in 18 to 24 months. Now the bridge debt is coming due in the next 6 to 8 months. We can't sell it for the profit that we thought we were going to. Now we have to do a capital call. So there's challenges with the speculative deals we were doing. Our development deals, I already told you, we had to roll the money forward all the way till we got to these last 7. Now we're finally going to get our payday. Our wholesale business went down. There was a lot of things. But because we owned so much real estate and the wholesale deals that we were doing were just enough to keep us alive, and we had enough cash reserves to be able to pull this all together, and we had enough inventory that as we sold, we were able to keep moving things forward. We survived. It took us about 6 months. This is real shit. This is the shit people need to hear.
Yeah.
Because it's always like the Lambos and the fucking lifestyle. It's like, no, motherfucker. I'm in the trenches getting my ass beat in the pressure cooker, but we're built for this shit.
Yes.
I thrive. When the moment things start getting tough, I'm like, fuck yeah, let's go. Underdog comes out. I'm like, we're going to figure this out, guys. This is where the mental fortitude comes in. This is where all of those years of getting bullied comes back.
Yeah.
That dog in me comes back out. I'm like, we're going to fucking go.
Where you're somebody that works well with under pressure.
Yes.
Not everybody's built like that. So people have to learn. I had to learn. I mean, in 2019, I almost lost my collection agency. I've said this story before. My followers know this. I had $40,000 in the bank. I had 40 employees. I don't even know how I survived.
Yeah, that's scary.
But we had to do it. And, it's happened to me in real estate too, where, I'm getting my ass handed to me. I got no deals closing. But an important thing for people to take away from this is how valuable the wholesale business is for cash flow purposes, to be able to survive.
It kept us alive. It was the one thing. We didn't make a lot of money from it. But we made enough to pay. We didn't have to let a single person go. We paid for the whole operation to float until our bigger deals finally popped.
And when they have money, when they start making money wholesaling, be smart with it. Don't go buy a Rolex. Don't go buy, I'm wearing one, but I mean, I'm already a multimillionaire. I can get away with that. Not everybody can. People that are just starting out, don't go buy a big gold chain or a brand new Mercedes, right? Stack your money, buy some rental properties, or figure it out. Learn from people like us and figure it out on where to park your money. You know, I'm already getting burned out on buying luxury properties. I have some properties in Tulum, Destin, Florida. I just bought a house in Scottsdale. I'm buying one in Dubai. That's kind of my passion, right? I like to buy luxury properties. I like to park my money there, Airbnb them, and I like to buy places where I like to travel and I like to stay. I'm staying in my house right now in Scottsdale, right? But now I'm also opening my eyes where we have to start parking bigger money in, you know, commercial properties like with you. I bought one last year with a buddy of mine. I put $350,000 on a storage facility. I forget I even own it. Like, that's what beautiful. I want. I want to forget that I parked all this money everywhere, right? What has worked well for you in the last 12 months?
Yeah, I mean, we're fortunate. We build a really great product. A lot of our houses pre-sell, so it de-risks a lot of our stuff. You know, we're a great builder that pays attention to a lot of the details. And we made some smart moves. We used to rehab before we were building, like from the ground up. We would rehab all over, and let's say we did 100 rehabs in a year. Our crews would be all over Arizona, all over the valley, which is a lot of ground to cover, and they were always stressed out, and it stretched our resources out too far. When we decided 5 years ago to become a builder, we condensed it all into just a couple of the higher end zip codes. So now take the 85018 zip code, we had 20 projects going in there. So our crews were like bing, 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 bing. So by being more strategic and smart about how our resources are allocated and tightening up our box of what we do, saying no to a lot more things, and only saying yes to a very few major needle movers was really good for us. My partners being so close, that was, that really pulled us through. Having great partnerships, that was like a power move for me, because I've had bad partners, and in tough times, bad partners are the worst. Let's think, what else? The ability to use my brand to raise capital. This is really important, guys. Every single one of you watching this needs to build a personal brand. You're building it. I've been building it since the beginning. That's how you even want me on your show, is because I built such a great brand. It's that it's so much more valuable than you even understand. And it can feel overwhelming, and it can feel like, well, why would I ever who would ever want? I mean, dude, I was a nerdy, dope smoking kid from Mesa, Arizona that was not class valedictorian, that was just like a little hustler. And somehow I built this amazing brand, and I've had over 90,000 students come through my programs. I've changed the landscape of the real estate industry, especially from the education standpoint. Some of your favorite gurus are my students. And it's just like, I would have never thought I could do that. And I never even thought of it like that. I just said, you know what? I'm going to start using my voice to share my message. I'm going to be consistent with it, and I'm going to tell my own story. I'm not going to let you tell my story. Not the bullies, not my teachers, not my parents. I'm going to tell my story. And once I got there, I almost gamified it. I almost made it fun. And because I have a brand, I can go live at any moment. Send an email or go live, and I can raise 2, 3, 4, 500,000. I can raise $1 million pretty easily. And if it's a good project, I can raise, like I'm doing right now, $67 million.
I mean, I'm in.
Yeah, the brand is everything.
Yeah. What are 3 things that have really been a game changer, that have contributed like just massively to your success? I know partnerships is one. Mm-hmm. I didn't expect you to say that in this interview right now. I didn't expect you to say partnerships change the game. I'm a little different. I don't really believe in a lot of partnerships. I believe in collaborations and working with people, but like real partnerships. I mean, the only one I really have is my wife and my buddy Vic. I don't really have any other real partnerships. I'm bringing in a collection expert to help me scale my collection agencies. He's going to be a very minority partner. But I mean, what with partnerships, and what other things have really changed it for you?
So historically, I mean, partnerships, I've had bad partnerships that have almost put me out of business and bankrupt me. I've had great partnerships that helped me scale to levels I never even thought I could ever get to. In real estate and as an entrepreneur, leverage is everything. Leverage is power. There's only so many minutes in a day. I'm only filled with so much natural talent and skills. I can only do so much. Once I got to my limit, I knew in order for me to expand, I had to expand my energy. And yes, you can do it without partnerships, but partnerships make it way more fun. And so my partners are my best friends. You know, it's like I'm not partnering with strangers. I'm partnering people that are really close to me, that I've gone deeper with, that I know their family, I know their fears, I know where they are from, I know their parents. Like, I went deep. So it's kind of like what you're doing with your wife. The other thing I'll say that has worked really well for me is finding a good woman to help back you, right? I got a divorce last year from Shannon. Shannon and I are still best friends, still very close, amazing co-parents. We went through an entire divorce with no attorneys. That just shows you how close we are. And this was that's awesome. Very expensive separation of assets. And we looked at each other and we're like, we're not giving away money to attorneys. Like, we love each other unconditionally, even though we're not going to be together anymore. We're going to separate like bosses. We're going to do this the right way for the kids. That's awesome. We have lived up to that standard even more than I think we even knew we could. But for 18 years, she was there while I built my empire. This is why I cut the check. This is why I was like, whatever you want, you got, like, because that's the right move. She was there every step of the way while I built the empire. And without her, I don't think I would have been able to do it to the level that I did, because a good woman will give you the best advice in the world, will hold you accountable, will pick you up when you fall down, will push you outside your comfort zone, will tell you, I don't want to be with a little bitch, stop crying, get your fucking ass back to work, push you back in the game, be there to let you cry on her shoulder. Like, whatever it is, a good woman will do that for you. And without her, I wouldn't have done it. So I would say pick the right partner.
My wife has way better discernment than I do. She's a great judge of character, and I fucking hate that she's always right. But she says, like, don't trust that guy, or that guy right there is somebody you want to do business with. Yeah. Get around Cody. That's a good circle you want to be around. Don't mess with that guy over there. He's going to backstab your ass. Yeah. He's a little too nice. So yeah, it might seem like she's judgmental, but that's their job. That's what they're good at.
And they're always right.
And they're always right.
And if you don't listen, you get the I told you so conversation for sure. Yeah.
What's another thing?
The last one is, I alluded to it. In the beginning, yes, we'll get you out of Egypt. But as you become more successful, no, we'll take you to the promised land. You have to learn to say no. Us dumbass entrepreneurs think we can spin 40 plates at one time. You cannot. You won't do them good. You won't do it well, even if you do them, right? So it's better to do one or two things at, 90%, 100% than 10 things at 10%.
Thanks for reminding me. That's something that I just realized recently. I started getting God syndrome. I started thinking that I could walk on water, and I committed to launching a solar business, and we struggled. I finally had the balls to say I'm shutting it down. I wanted to partner up with, one of the biggest players in selling home security alarms because of our superpower of skip tracing and call centers and the way I run teams and leadership. I thought I could do it all. And I struggled with selling security alarms, and I haven't even made it public yet, but I've already shut those two businesses down just in the last couple months, and I don't plan on hopping back in anytime soon. I want to 100% focus on real estate and debt collections because those are my superpowers. So thanks for reminding me right now.
That's smart. I'm proud of you, dude, because that's hard to do sometimes. When you're in momentum, there are certain power principles that just, they're real. The power of momentum is one of them. Yeah. So many times we start to do something and we kind of have that gut feeling like, this isn't going well, but we're already committed. And so you try to make the best of it.
And it hurts your ego too.
Yeah.
You get a kick in the ego when you have to shut a business down. But since I've made that commitment, dude, my real estate company is looking beautiful right now. My debt collection agency's like on steroids, dude. It's crazy, right? So I think God and the universe has a play in it. They're like, thanks for being a big boy and making those tough decisions. So thanks for reminding me. Dude, I really want to thank you for your time. I want to wish you again a very happy birthday for me and my family, dude. I hope that you have an amazing, amazing year. I hope that, God grants you all of your goals, all of your targets, gives you peace. I pray every single night with my wife. We hold hands and we pray.
I love that.
So, I mean, it's just, we've had some issues the last couple months. We have an amazing relationship. Amazing. We never fight, like ever, ever, ever. And we kind of went through a situation a couple months ago. So we've been praying every night. So I want to pray for you and your family. And dude, thanks again for everything. I look up to you. You're a beast in real estate, social media. You've been a great inspiration to me. So thank you, Cody.
Yes, thanks
Appreciate
for having
you.
me on.
I'm looking forward to doing business with you too, bro. All right, guys, I hope that this has been very inspirational to you. I hope it's been motivational. I hope that you guys find it in your hearts to go out there and crush your goals, conquer your dreams, and use us as leverage to learn to not make the same mistakes that we've made. See you next time. Let's get it.